The road's called Highway 16. It's part of the Trans-Canadian highway system. There are places in this road where you will see more bears than you will see cars. The road can take on kind of a sinister aspect to it. It's a place that can be a good friend to evil. The locals know it as the Highway of Tears. And it's called that because there's been a series of disappearances and murders of women and girls that date back 4 decades. And a large number of them are still unsolved. People know that their sisters and daughters are at risk if they go near this highway and perhaps wind up hitchhiking for an emergency reason. The number of victims varies with who you talk to. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police Force says that there's 18 victims. But if you talk to the local people, they believe the number is 33, 43, perhaps even more.
This is our storage room where we keep all our box files. They're the toughest cases that you can imagine. Girls that are last seen sticking their thumb out on the highway and never to be seen again. And potentially, there is a serial killer.
So this area we're coming into right now, we have 2 victims from this remote community.
Yes, we have 1 murdered young girl and 1 missing young lady.
Pretty staggering, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and you know, we'd like to bring them all home.
Is it possible that Maddie Scott's case could end up on the Highway of Tears list?
Anything's possible.
How's it going?
Madison Scott, Maddie as we know her, is a 21-year-old woman from Vanderhoof, British Columbia that was camping out at Hogsback Lake. She went missing on May 28th, 2011, and her disappearance is a mystery.
The RCMP amassed over 170 personnel to conduct searches by land, by water, by air. There was no sign of Madison at the lake.
We as a team are dedicated to find out what happened to Madison Scott.
Once you start thinking about what has happened in this place, it starts to get inside your head.
Our investigators have been working these files for over 5 years. It was very emotional for all of us. We want wins. We want victories. Thankfully, that's just around the corner for us, and it involves an American. He's clearly a monster.
Oh, it's just an awful feeling. Well, to know that she disappeared from just a few feet away, it's just, that's devastating.
Devastating, and yet Dawn and Eldon Scott keep coming back to the place where their 20-year-old daughter, Maddie, was last seen alive.
It's really unsettling, you know, knowing that she disappeared from here and nobody has seen her since.
It was here at Hogsback Lake in northern British Columbia, Canada, where Maddie camped out after partying with friends on the night of May 27th, 2011.
It's a beautiful little spot. It's close to town.
So it was just a group of kids going for a birthday party?
Yeah, they were going out camping for the night.
The next day, Maddie has not come home. Did you call her on her cell phone?
Hi, you've reached Maddie Scott.
And I did try to call her, and it went right to her voicemail.
Leave me a message and I'll call you back. Thanks.
Still, Dawn wasn't worried. Cell service at the lake was always spotty.
I thought, gee, like she's 20 years old, she went to the lake, the weather was beautiful, she was with friends. If something was up, she would call us.
But Maddie never called.
It just didn't seem right. And that was Sunday morning, so Eldon and I hopped in the vehicle and we drove out there.
Hogsback Lake is only a 15-minute drive from the Scots' home in Vanderhoof, a tiny town along Canada's infamous Highway 16. Locals call it the Highway of Tears for a reason. Since 1969, at least 18 women have gone missing or have been murdered in this very same area, just like Maddie.
Here again is a girl from one of these small towns along this highway who has disappeared without a trace.
Bob Friel, an investigative reporter for Outside Magazine and a CBS News consultant, has written about this haunted highway and the Maddie Scott case.
Madison Scott fits the same pattern as some of these cases that are on the official list. She disappeared from a place very close to the highway.
But on that Sunday morning in 2011, Maddie's parents were not thinking about the nearby highway's reputation. They just wanted to find their daughter. You arrive here at Hogsback. What do you see?
Well, her pickup was parked here.
Just as it is now, this is her pickup truck.
This is her pickup, yes.
And what do you do?
We walked over to the truck and looked in it.
Dawn and Eldon found Maddie's purse and backpack inside her locked truck, but her phone was missing.
She doesn't go anywhere without her purse or her, personal belongings.
At what point does panic start to set in?
Immediately.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, rushed to the scene, but there was no trace of Maddie.
Something happened to Maddie. Maddie's disappeared. She didn't get taken by a flying saucer. Somebody knows something.
Sergeant Ken Floyd and Constable Tom Wamsteker of the RCMP are the lead investigators. They begin by developing a profile of Maddie. She was close to her brother Ben and sister Georgia. After graduating high school, Maddie began working with her father in the logging industry.
Everyone speaks highly of Madison Scott. She was well loved and liked in the community. She was an avid outdoors person. She was into dirt biking and she loved sports.
Is Maddie a real competitor?
Yes. Yes, very much so.
Amanda Fitzpatrick and Jasmine Klassen are Maddie's close friends. What thoughts come to mind when you think of Maddie?
She always shared. I don't know, she was really thoughtful.
The girls cannot think about their close friend without remembering all the videos they made together. Tell me about her movie making.
She liked to take charge. Everyone would have their own ideas and she would just kind of take over.
I'm really scared right now. Weird things keep happening, and seems like someone's following me.
In an eerie twist, Maddie co-wrote and starred in a suspense movie called The Stalker. Neither Jasmine nor Amanda was at the birthday party the night Maddie went missing. But about 50 others were, and investigators began going at them hard. You spoke to every single person who had been at that party?
We have. It remains ongoing. We haven't identified anyone that would have a grudge or had any reason to harm or cause Madison's disappearance.
But investigators did uncover one troubling detail. That fateful night, Maddie's friends had left her at the lake completely alone.
As far as she knew going there were other people that were going to be staying out at the lake that night.
But one by one, everyone packed up and left, including Jordy Bolduc, who had promised Maddie that she'd stay with her.
I just can't believe that it's just so wrong.
People still think that I am a horrible person because I left my best friend out there. And people yell at me and write on Facebook that I've killed her and I left her and I'm stupid.
Did the police question you?
Oh yeah. And they asked me the question several times. Did you kill Maddie? Were you there when Maddie was killed?
For Dawn and Eldon Scott, the disappearance of their 20-year-old daughter, Maddie,
Hey, what's up?
is almost incomprehensible.
I think it was just so surreal to everyone. Like, this can't really be happening. You just kept expecting her to show up.
Finding her in this vast Canadian wilderness that surrounds the Highway of Tears, where so many women have gone missing, feels nearly impossible.
It's like a needle in a haystack. It's just amazing. You know, there's water, there's forest, there's rugged terrain. It's staggering. That's why the possibilities, they're endless.
Frustrated and heartbroken, Dawn and Eldon began their own investigation, separate from the official police version of events.
This is a board that our team has put together. It's a list of the people that were at the party. When they arrived, when they left, who they arrived with, who they left with.
This makeshift investigation went up on the Scotts' basement wall, just feet from Maddie's now empty bedroom.
We needed a place to put up a board to keep track of, lay it out, like what went on.
They retraced Maddie's trail throughout the day as she visited a liquor store and later bought snacks. That's Maddie on a security camera recorded just hours before she vanished.
You have a category questions.
Right.
What kind of questions do you have even today?
Why was she left there on her own? Why did everybody leave?
And if there is one person who can answer some of those questions, it's Geordie Bolduc, Maddie's friend who had promised to camp out with her.
Tell me about the party that night.
Well, it was just supposed to be the people that we knew, and then it turned into this big party.
Word had spread online.
It was posted on Facebook, so that's how everybody found out and went out to Hogsback. Big party.
Were there strangers at this party?
I know most of them, but the people that came at the very end of the party, I did not know. I had no idea who they were.
At one point, the party got a bit rough.
People got up and started a fight behind me, and I bounced into the fire.
Geordie was injured, so her boyfriend carried her to his truck and told Maddie they were leaving.
What did she say to you?
She was just shocked. She's like, "Really? You're going?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going." And she kind of begged me, and then I was just like, "Well, you can come with us." And she said no, and she wanted to stay there with her tent for it to be safe.
Did she tell you she thought it would be safe?
Yeah, she said that she'd be fine.
What time did you leave the party?
I left around 1 o'clock.
By 10 the following morning, Geordie was feeling guilty about leaving Maddie alone. She returned to the lake to help her pack up.
I got there, and there was no Maddie. And I looked around, checked the place. I was like, oh, maybe she's in her truck. No.
Geordie noticed that the tent was a mess.
And the door was wide open. The blankets and everything were pushed to the side. Her rings were outside. She never takes off her rings. And there were 3 rings on the ground and earrings, wooden earrings on the ground. It was just where's Maddie?
Investigators have focused a lot of attention on Geordie and the last people to leave the party.
Common sense dictates that Geordie was a suspect. I mean, she was one of the last people who spoke with Maddie.
I was probably talked to every single day for 3 months. I went in for I think it was 2 polygraphs.
And the result?
They said I aced it. I aced the polygraph.
Geordie is no longer a suspect.
The investigation spread outward, and Sergeant Ken Floyd says he learned that a 28-year-old logger and single father of 2, Fribian Bjornsson, was telling friends that he knew what had happened to Maddie.
Fribian Bjornsson is a Vanderhoof resident. He was a friend of Madison's. They'd spent time together, socializing.
I couldn't even believe that they were seeing each other because he's bad news. He's bad news.
Bjornsson, better known as Frib, led a troubled life and abused drugs, a fact confirmed by police. But his mother insists her son was turning his life around.
From our perspective, Fribian, again, like others, was a suspect.
There was talk in town that Frib owed drug dealers money and that they had abducted Maddie to teach him a lesson. It's a theory investigated by police.
We don't leave any stone unturned where Maddie's concerned. And we would be irresponsible by not following up with the suggestion that there was a revenge or some connection between Frib and Madison.
Bjornsson voluntarily took a lie detector test and passed.
He wanted to clear his name, and he wanted people to know that he had no involvement in what happened to Maddie.
Based largely on that polygraph test, the RCMP cleared him. But 2 days later, Bjornsson disappeared. 2 weeks later, investigators made a shocking discovery. They found Bjornsson's severed head in an abandoned house in a nearby town.
And they're still looking for the rest of his body.
Frib's mother told 48 Hours that she believes her son was killed for a paycheck he cashed the night he went missing. 4 suspects were charged in connection with Bjornsson's murder. Maddie's case remains unsolved.
There is no connection between Madison's disappearance and Frib's murder.
On this very night, 5 years ago, May 28, 2011, Madison disappeared. She remains missing.
You do believe she'll be found?
I do. Yes, I do.
I said that from the very first day, that we'll find her and we'll bring her home.
We need them to come forward.
She was last seen wearing...
The Scotts have issued public requests for help.
And soon, like now would be a good time.
And there is a $100,000 reward for information.
When you take even a simple drive, Maddie's looking back at you. You see her on the side of the road on one of these signs. What is that like for you?
Oh, it kills you every time. Again, why am I sitting here, you know, not out looking somewhere? It's your child, you know. Yeah, it's devastating. It's just gut-wrenching. You see all these posters on vehicles and it's just staggering. You know, you just can't believe that it's your child.
And Maddie's parents are not alone. Just 6 months earlier, in the same town, another daughter disappeared.
Every day I wake up thinking about Lauren. Every night I go to sleep thinking about Lauren. It's going to be the same forever.
Six months before Maddie Scott disappeared, Doug Leslie, who also lives in this remote region of Canada, received an ominous late-night phone call. It was November 27th, 2010.
Midnight, I get a call from the cops saying that, asking if Lauren was there. And I said, what's going on? He said, well, if Lauren's home, somebody's using her ID. So I thought that was kind of strange.
What does that mean, someone was using her ID?
Well, they found her ID in a vehicle.
Doug's 15-year-old daughter, Lauren, was not at home, and he couldn't reach her.
But you were worried.
Oh, yeah, I was worried. I didn't know what was going on, whether she was in trouble or whether she was, you know, I didn't have any idea.
What he did know was that he wanted to find his daughter. So when police promised but failed to call him back, he headed out along a dark road that feeds into the notorious Highway of Tears.
So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I figured I'm going to drive till they find cops.
Doug had no idea that hours earlier, an alert cop had made a traffic stop on that road. Investigative reporter Bob Friel.
An RCMP constable was driving down the road simply on regular police business. And out of one of these logging roads, these skid roads, a black pickup truck comes out. There's a kid inside, 20-year-old kid. He questions him, IDs him, doesn't quite like how the kid's acting.
The kid was suspected of poaching. He was held at the scene while a game warden was summoned and followed fresh tire tracks back through the snow.
Takes his flashlight, expecting to find a moose or an elk. Instead, he finds the body of a 15-year-old girl who had just been killed and dumped there.
It was at that moment that Doug Leslie came upon the scene.
And the game warden was standing there, and he was white as a ghost. And I told him who I was, and I didn't want to hear any bull. I wanted to know what was going on. And they said all they could tell me was they were investigating a homicide, so I knew right away.
Because you knew that homicide investigation was Lauren.
Yep.
Police told Doug they were having trouble identifying the victim's face. So Doug told them to check for a unique tattoo on his daughter's wrist.
It says grip fast. It's our family motto. It just means hang on tight.
Police found the tattoo, and Doug's worst fears were proven true. The victim was his daughter, Lauren.
She was molested, beat over the head with a pipe wrench, and her throat was cut. Just awful.
Who could do such a thing?
Not a human, for sure.
20-year-old Cody Lejabakoff, whose pickup truck was first pulled over on that routine stop, was now a suspect in the murder of Lauren Leslie.
She was very mature for her age, and very caring. She was a joyful kid. Yeah, she was a great swimmer, great athlete. She excelled in karate.
All the more remarkable considering Lauren had a genetic eye condition that left her nearly blind since birth. Close friends like Charlene Lang barely noticed.
She never let on to it. You would never know meeting her. She did everything everybody else could do. She did it better.
With the help of thick eyeglasses, Lauren was spending hours each night online. And Charlene believes that's how Lauren met Cody Lejabakoff.
Cody Lejabakoff was very active in social media. He used Facebook, he used online dating sites. His handle, his name online that he used a lot was One Country Boy.
And so when she met someone online, she'd begin a conversation with them?
She'd establish a relationship. She's very trusting. They could confide in her.
Perhaps too trusting. Lauren's mother, Donna, would worry about her daughter's trips along the Highway of Tears from her hometown of Vanderhoof to the crime-ridden city of Prince George.
She would enlist anybody to take her to Prince George because she had a network of friends there. And it really concerned me because I didn't know who these people were. And I tried to convince her how dangerous it was.
But Cody Lejabakoff, a local high school graduate, seemed like the all-Canadian boy next door. He worked at this Ford dealership in Prince George and lived in this house with 3 roommates, all women. Garrett Anatole was on his soccer team.
When my friend told me it was Cody, our friend and stuff, and I couldn't believe it either. I was like, oh my God, that was Cody, because it's from your own town, right? He was popular, he was, graduated, he got along with everybody, fun, joke around, party and stuff like that.
But as investigators dug into Lejabakoff's past, they were able to tie him to 3 other murders near the Highway of Tears. A year after Lauren's death, the RCMP declared they had captured a homegrown serial killer.
We can announce today that 3 counts of first-degree murder have been laid against 21-year-old Cody Allen Lejabakoff.
The 3 other murder victims had disappeared in 2009 and 2010.
This is someone who, if the charges are proven, was a 19-year-old serial killer. That's extremely young for a serial killer to start his career.
Police would not talk to 48 Hours about how they connected Lejabakoff to these victims, but they believe there may be more.
We believe there are others out there that may have been in contact with Lejabakoff or these victims and possess information that can assist our ongoing investigation.
Lauren's friend Charlene says she had once met Lejabakoff and did not like what she saw.
I did not like his eyes. They just looked angry. They looked They don't look soft and innocent. They look angry.
And you felt this way long before he was in the news?
Long before.
With Cody Lejabakoff under arrest in the murders of Lauren Leslie and 3 others, townspeople along the Highway of Tears felt some relief. But it was clear Lejabakoff was far too young to have committed murders that stretched back to 1969. Other killers still were roaming that highway, and it was Sergeant Wayne Clary's job to catch them.
They're cruising out there picking up these girls that are very, very vulnerable.
Cody Lejabakoff was under arrest, but that did not solve the Maddie Scott disappearance. He'd been in custody months before Maddie had gone missing. And his arrest also brought little peace to the families of the women killed along the Highway of Tears. The cases that Sergeant Wayne Clary is determined to solve.
Is the guy we're looking for in these boxes.
Every report since the first murder in 1969 is in this room. How many boxes are we talking about in here?
Over 750.
So thousands of pages of documents in here.
Thousands, yeah.
Clary took over the special unit assigned to the Highway of Tears cases in 2012.
There will be transcribed statements in here. There'll be forensic reports. There'll be lab reports, witness interviews.
More than 60,000 people have been interviewed. How many persons of interest have there been in this investigation?
The last I looked, about 1,400.
1,400.
And we've uncovered men who drive vans with the door handles removed from the inside, duct tape, plastic wrist restraints, trap doors. It's incredible to me how many men are capable of doing this.
The seemingly endless wilderness where these attacks have occurred is staggering.
So I think our first stop along the way from up here will be Vanderhoof.
To show us the challenges his people face, Clary took us into the air to fly the nearly 500 miles of the Highway of Tears, from the interior all the way to the sea.
Where are we?
Right now we're just flying over Prince George, which is the hub of the north, and it's the start of our investigation into our missing and murdered women.
It's been said that the Highway of Tears is a perfect killing ground for someone because they can't hide their victims.
And I would add to what you just said, a perfect dumping ground.
The landscape is beautiful, but it's a terrible beauty considering the context.
As one is looking out, it's just hard to imagine what the victims have been suffering down there over the years.
Some victims have been found alongside this lonely highway, others discovered by hikers.
Wayne, give me a sense, where are we right now?
Right now we're flying over Prince Rupert, and this is the end of Highway 16, or the Highway of Tears.
Our sad aerial journey ends on the west coast, just 25 miles from the Alaskan border. It was time to come back to Earth and drive the Highway of Tears. Who were the women murdered along this road?
We're in the town of Smithers along Highway 16, and we have 2 girls we're investigating.
15-year-old Delphine Nakai disappeared while hitchhiking in 1990. Lana Derrick was a 19-year-old college student back in 1995.
And very close to here, 19 years earlier, we covered the body of Monica Ignace.
Monica Ignace was just 14.
She went missing on December 14th, 1974. If we're all quiet, we can hear cars going down Highway 16 right now. It's that close.
I can hear them in the distance.
Yep. We're less than a mile, probably about a half a mile from the highway.
And Monica Ignace isn't the youngest victim. That would be 12-year-old Monica Jack, who disappeared in 1978 while riding her bike. The highway has become so notorious, warning signs are everywhere.
We're now in Smithers, British Columbia, and we were driving off of Highway 16, which is just over this ridge. We've driven about a mile down a dirt road. And again, we're in total isolation. And Wayne, what happened here?
Well, in April of 1995, there was a couple of gentlemen moose hunting, and they were perhaps 20, 25 feet off into the bush here, and they discovered the remains of Ramona Wilson.
And who is Ramona?
Ramona Wilson's a girl who went missing from Smithers in 1994.
Her picture's right here. It's been 18 years, and it's getting quite old.
No one remembers Ramona Wilson more than her mother, Matilda.
Last year I was here for her birthday, was February 15th. And on June 11th, day she was murdered.
Matilda took us into the woods.
Look how far he had carried her.
To where her daughter's body was found.
There's a bunch of trees all around like that, and they put her underneath the tree right there.
That's where her body was found,
yes.
Right over there.
Yeah.
We continued our journey, eventually meeting up with fisherman Tom Chipman.
It's pretty painful. I mean, it dredges up memories every time I see a picture.
Chipman's daughter, 22-year-old Tamara, disappeared in 2005 from Prince Rupert while hitchhiking.
No, you gotta stay here with Mommy.
She left behind a 3-year-old son.
The worst part is her body was never retrieved, and not knowing what happened to her and where she ended up.
Chipman spent weeks searching the endless logging roads.
There was nothing ever found of her.
She just disappeared?
Yeah, she just vanished.
Vanished, just like Colleen McMillan, a sweet 16-year-old redhead, who, back in 1974, asked her little brother Sean to be a stand-up brother.
She just said, "Don't tell Mom I'm hitchhiking." And she walked away.
What happens?
She didn't arrive. Just didn't get there.
Her body was found a month later, not 30 miles from the family home. Colleen's brother, Kevin.
It's a lifelong disaster is what it is. It was sad the day it happened, and we're sad today, and we'll be sad the day we die.
But then, nearly 40 years after Colleen's disappearance,
It has been a long wait for answers.
a dramatic development.
We've had a major break in the case, and surprisingly, it's an American.
In 2012, 38 years after Colleen McMillan disappeared,
Thank you for coming. I'm Inspector Gary Shinkarik.
the RCMP announces a stunning break.
The break has to do with the 1974 disappearance and murder of 16-year-old Colleen McMillan.
Using new enhanced DNA technology, the Highway of Tears Task Force matched male DNA recovered from Colleen's clothing to this man, Bobby Jack Fowler, a Texas native who had worked as a roofer in Prince George. Colleen's brothers, Sean and Kevin.
I couldn't comprehend what was going on here. They found the guy.
And I couldn't wait to phone everybody. We had all been waiting 38 years.
Finally, one of the cold cases along the Highway of Tears is at last solved.
It's gratification.
In the States, we call this a CSI moment. You've just had your Canadian CSI moment with this case, haven't you?
Ours took longer, but we've had it. It just reaffirms to us why we do our jobs.
The task force strongly believes Bobby Jack Fowler killed these young women as well, Gail Ways and Pamela Darlington, both 19 years old and missing since 1973. And Fowler may be responsible for 6 other Highway of Tears murders.
A violent man, sexual assaults, kidnapping, firearms, in and out of jail. He's clearly a monster.
Fowler was married twice and has 4 children, but his work life was nomadic. He'd drive from motel to motel, picking up women in bars and girls hitchhiking along the highway.
He believed that the vast majority of women that he met in those places not only desired to be sexually assaulted, but desired to be violently sexually assaulted.
Fowler lived in 11 states, from Texas to Oregon. Newport, Oregon investigator Ron Benson is looking into Fowler's past and thinks he may have left another Highway of Tears here in the U.S.
We have a similar situation where 2 girls left Beverly Beach State Park in the middle of the night and probably came out on the highway. We know Bobby Jack Fowler was in Oregon off and on for decades. When these girls' bodies were found 5 months later out in the woods, they were found in a condition similar to the cases in British Columbia.
Benson believes Fowler may have committed as many as 7 murders in Oregon. But it was one notorious case involving a woman at this motel in 1995 that finally led to the end of Fowler's rampage.
Bobby Jack Fowler tried to kill her here. He tried to tie her up, and to escape him, she jumped naked out of a 2nd-story window with a rope tied around her leg.
The woman agreed to speak with us on the phone.
He was just weird. He just got weird, and then he put the rope around my foot. He was like, he told me he was going to put me in the ocean. I just was trying to scream, and he just covered my mouth.
But somehow she did manage to get to the window and jump out alive.
No one deserves this. If people are out there, you don't know who they are. I'm just glad that I got away.
When the first officer arrived, he was packing, he was putting his belongings in the car.
Fowler was arrested and convicted of kidnapping and assaulting her.
If he'd had 15 more seconds, he would have driven away into obscurity, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police would not have had that opportunity to make that DNA connection.
The McMillans now know who killed their sister, but will never get the satisfaction of seeing him pay for her murder. Fowler died in prison in 2006.
I'm glad it's kind of over for us.
But it's not over for the family of Maddie Scott. She disappeared long after Fowler died. So far, the RCMP has identified 2 alleged serial killers. But that does little for the families of Tamara Chipman, Ramona Wilson, Lana Derrick, Monica Ignace, and more. They are still waiting for closure, hoping that the haunted beauty of this highway will one day reveal all its secrets.
It's one of the most beautiful, most spectacular roads that you'll ever travel on. So you can be there on the most beautiful day of the entire year, and suddenly you see one of these signs, and you feel this foreboding on the road. It's a place that definitely has a personality, and a lot of times that's dark.
a special 2-part edition of 48 Hours.
You don't know exactly what you're going to be finding up there, and so just driving up there in itself, you're kind of walking into the unknown. I believe I was a little nervous.
I would describe it as being absolutely savage.
This was someone who used a baseball bat to kill the family.
What I see is an attack that is not only calculated and carried out with precision.
There was blood all over the room, on the ceiling, on the floor.
I also see a crime scene that smacks of the murderer having a very, very personal vendetta.
Somebody just went off the deep end, and once they started killing, they either enjoyed it or they couldn't stop themselves.
In an upper middle class neighborhood of an upper middle class community, 3 unsuspecting and undeserving human beings were savagely beaten to death.
There's blood, they're not breathing. I don't think it's safe here.
By somebody who they knew. It was a plan, a well-rehearsed, well-thought-out plan.
What happened in this house on a hot summer night in 1994 brought tragedy and mystery to this quiet neighborhood in Bellevue, Washington. Just after 2 in the morning on July 13th, police were called to a crime that would take them 10 years to bring to justice.
Had you ever seen anything like it?
Never.
James Jude Conant is a senior deputy prosecutor in King County. He and a team of detectives have been haunted by this crime and the killers who got away.
They think that they are smarter than other people in the world. And I know that sounds just kind of a broad statement, but I really believe they believe that.
The search for the truth would lead police to another country through a web of intriguing clues. Could this screenplay that described a murder unlock the mystery? And in the end, would a sophisticated undercover operation set in a make-believe world of crime catch the real killers? The story begins with a call for help.
Emergency, what are you reporting? My friend, his mom and dad, we think they're dead.
Sebastian Burns and his friend Atif Rafay had stumbled on a horrific scene. Atif's parents had been murdered.
There is nothing that I can imagine about my parents that could have justified anyone to do what was done to them.
Sultana Rafay, Atif's mother, was the first to be killed.
Sebastian, what did you see when you walked through that door?
We saw Atif's mom lying on the floor.
Tariq Rafay was the next to be murdered.
We could see there was blood around him, and it was clear that he had been attacked.
Why do you think that they're dead? There's blood, they're not breathing, there's blood all over his face.
It was basically an overkill.
Detective Bob Thompson has been on the case since the night it began.
It just looked like someone had hit him 40 or 50 times.
Please, fast, okay?
Yes, they're on the way.
Okay.
They're on the way.
We'll be outside.
Okay, go ahead.
As the boys waited for help to arrive, a third victim, Atif's autistic older sister Basma, was clinging to life, moaning in her bedroom.
The third victim was autistic. It would make sense that she's murdered last because everybody knows that she can't make a 911 call.
Basma died a few hours later at the hospital, taking with her the secret of who killed the Rafay family. The Rafays had just moved to Bellevue from Vancouver, Canada. Sultana had a doctorate in nutrition, but devoted her life to raising her gifted son and disabled daughter.
I think she was certainly an extraordinary person.
Do you miss your mom?
I do.
What do you miss most about her?
Well, the mere presence is enough, but she knew me in a way that I suspect that no one ever will. She was always able to look right through the adolescent sort of pomposities that I might have had and remind me that I was just a silly kid at times.
Tariq Rafay was a structural engineer who had worked on buildings around the world.
In a sense, we were all like kids around him, or like my mom was too, and we were all, I guess, sort of in his orbit. He was a brilliant person, probably a far better mathematician than I will ever be.
No one could understand who would take the lives of this quiet family and spare their only son. Detectives began to look more closely at the crime scene.
What's the problem there? There's been some kind of break-in.
Sebastian had used the words break-in to report what had happened.
Is it locked? It's not locked.
It's unlocked. Just looking at that room, you started realizing this looks like someone set it up. Boxes were tipped over, drawers were opened, but nothing appeared to have gone through.
That night, when police asked what was missing, Atif said two things: his Discman and a VCR.
Someone came in, murdered 3 people, and took his Walkman and a VCR. I mean, it makes no sense.
Detectives probed deeper. Who were these teenage boys who reported the crime?
The 1992-93 school year.
Sebastian Burns and Atif Rafay had been best friends since high school.
What'd you like about high school?
I liked being a kid. I liked having free time, and I liked hanging around with other kids, and I just liked being young.
The boys shared a sarcastic sense of humor and an interest in reading and debate.
What would you guys talk about? What were you interested in?
You know, it was things like Shakespeare and philosophy and Camus and things like that.
They had a lot in common. They became very good friends because they were both precocious, they were both intelligent.
Sarah Isaacs is Sebastian's high school sweetheart.
He went to parties, he was athletic, and he became friends with Atif and sort of showed Atif how to dress. He'd introduced Atif to girls. He sort of helped Atif be a stud like he was.
That's going back a bit.
Sebastian was raised in a loving family with English roots.
There was a lot of respect in our household. I mean, you didn't talk back to my parents. You didn't swear in the house.
Sebastian's sister, Tiffany.
We both grew up playing classical cello, so we had music lessons and we had to practice every day after school.
All right, thanks.
In 2005, Tiffany was a TV reporter at the CBS station in Cleveland. She can't say enough about her little brother.
He's very smart. I mean, he's definitely what you would call an intellectual. And he's so well-read. He's got so many fascinating things to say.
Sebastian became a member of the Royal Canadian Air Cadets and was given an award by Prince Edward. Atif made it to the Ivy League, attending Cornell University. It was the summer of their freshman year in college when the murders took place.
It sort of is like a jigsaw puzzle, where, you know, you just take that piece and you put it here and you start fitting it together, and pretty soon you get a picture.
Police took Sebastian and Atif to the station and examined them for traces of blood. They found nothing. When asked where they had been that evening, the boys provide a full account. At 8:30, they drove to a restaurant for a bite to eat. Then they went to a 9:50 showing of The Lion King.
Well, why do you remember them?
They were acting annoying, obnoxious.
Everywhere they went, the people who came into contact with them remembered them.
After the movie, they stopped at another restaurant and left the waitress a $6 tip on a $9 tab.
They don't usually do that, especially young guys. Young guys don't tip very well.
But something else troubled police. How could the boys remember so much detail about where they'd been that evening and yet not recall key moments at the murder scene? The police decided to interview Sebastian and Atif again, and detectives recorded the conversation.
I found my mom. What did you do? I may have gone after her. I can't remember. I don't know what I did. I can't remember.
Did you go walk over to your dad?
I don't think so. No.
Did you touch your dad?
I don't think so.
Well, you'd know, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know if I know, but I don't think I touched him.
See, I don't understand this, Atif. Your sister is moaning. She's hurt.
Yeah.
And you don't go to help her.
Detectives wanted to know why Atif didn't help his dying sister, even though he heard her through her bedroom door.
How hurt is she?
I didn't know.
Okay, you don't know how hurt she is.
I don't know how hurt she is. All I know is that I can't do anything.
Sebastian and Atif were witnesses. By the time they left at the end of these statements, were they suspects?
Yes, definitely suspects. By the time they left, they were suspects. You know what, I think you know who it is.
It's ridiculous.
No, it's
I
not.
would tell you if I knew who did it.
And investigators thought they not only knew who, they also knew why.
$300,000 to $400,000 is about to slip through his fingers if she lives.
Are you saying Atif didn't go to the aid of his sister because he didn't want to save his sister?
Atif didn't go to the aid of his sister because unless she died, the whole plan came crumbling down on them.
3 days after the murders, relatives gathered in Bellevue to bury the Raffays in a traditional Muslim ceremony. But the only surviving member of the immediate family was nowhere to be found.
They were wondering, where's Atif? Where's the son?
On the day of the funeral, the Raffays' only son was on a bus headed across the border to Canada. And with him was his best friend, Sebastian Burns. Sebastian and Atif were now in Vancouver, Canada, out of reach of the Bellevue police and an investigation that targeted them for the murders of the Raffay family. Did the boys go to Vancouver or did they flee to Vancouver?
From our perspective, they fled back to Vancouver.
He didn't flee. He went home.
Their sudden bus trip across the border only raised more suspicion, even though both boys were Canadian citizens.
Well, how do you flee a country getting on a Greyhound bus?
In fact, a representative from the Canadian consulate informed the Bellevue police of their trip in advance.
She contacted the Bellevue Police Department to say these guys are leaving, they're going home, if that's okay with you.
And she was told, quote, sure. Mm-hmm. She then tells the boys it's okay to go, and they leave. That is not fleeing.
It is not fleeing? I think it's
to
fleeing.
Ask permission?
Atif and Sebastian both had my numbers. They knew I was even in the process of getting them a pager so we could keep in contact. And they're gone. They don't tell me where they're at. They know I'm investigating the murders of their parents, and they're gone.
Detective Thompson was a veteran cop.
This is the other.
His gut told him that the boys were guilty, but he just didn't have the evidence to prove it. Investigators kept combing the house.
Is it locked? It's not locked.
They found no forced entry. There was, however, an eerie clue. A forensic tool, luminol, showed blood on the shower walls. The killer had used the shower before leaving.
The person was so comfortable and calm and collected that he or she might then decide perhaps they'll have a shower before they go. It is inconceivable.
Could that be the reason why the boys who had discovered the bodies at that bloody crime scene didn't have a trace of blood on their hair, their hands, or anywhere on their bodies?
Are you a killer, Sebastian?
No, absolutely not.
Did you hold that bat in your hands and kill those 3 people?
No, I didn't.
You're not lying to me.
No.
Would you have ever done anything, Atif, to hurt your parents?
No. The single most distressing thing about this entire experience is the fact that I would even have to speak out and say, yeah, no, I did not do that.
Okay, right here. Even without physical evidence, detectives were determined. They began to build a case against the boys based on their odd behavior following the murders.
They cooperated, they did everything that was asked of them. However, when they did things, they had this air or this attitude about doing it.
They honed in on their demeanor at the crime scene and questioned why they sat in front of the house if they believed an intruder might still be there.
He's out on the curb, 20 yards away from the front door where this supposed killer may be in the house, and he's waiting for the police on the curb while Latif's having a cigarette.
I'm not sure that anything that we did made any sense. I was not thinking in a normal way.
Police also couldn't make sense of why Atif would notice that his Discman and VCR were missing.
He's walking around the house claiming to discover the fact that the VCR is missing. And ultimately, while his mother and father and sister lay in a state of carnage. Let's not mince words here. It is carnage. He claims to have discovered that the Walkman was missing from his bedroom.
And they've decided that my son and his friend are the guilty parties. They've decided that.
I believe him to be totally innocent, as is Atif, and they have been damned.
Sebastian's family and friends rallied around him and Atif.
I remember sitting on those steps with Sebastian. I remember sitting on that field.
Sebastian's former girlfriend, Sarah Isaacs, says she knows his character better than anyone.
Have you ever thought to yourself, maybe there was something I missed about Sebastian that I just didn't see?
There's nothing that anyone could tell me. There's never a moment when someone could tell me something that made me think, honestly, maybe he did it. I never had to face that moment, ever. I know Sebastian. He was and is my very, very good friend.
Did the cops investigating this just need to get home to dinner? I mean, why didn't they follow up the leads that came their way?
And there were other compelling leads. Within days of the crime, police received a tip from a reliable informant that someone had offered $20,000 to kill an East Indian family that had recently moved from Vancouver to Bellevue.
There's no physical evidence that links Atif and Sebastian to the crime. Their alibis check out. And now you get this lead from an informant in Canada that somebody had been bragging about a hit on an East Indian family in Bellevue, Washington. Tells me that's the direction now you should be focusing your investigation, since there's no evidence against these boys.
Well, there is evidence against those boys. There was a lot of evidence against those boys, and it was all circumstantial. It wasn't evidence to convict them, certainly.
Is it fair to say that you didn't properly check out this lead in Vancouver?
It may be fair to say that that lead was not fully checked out. You get all kinds of tips that come in, and you have to weigh them, but the leads didn't go that direction. The leads went directly to Canada, and we followed those leads to Sebastian and Atif.
Atif, why don't you talk to police?
On the advice of a lawyer, the boys decided to stop cooperating with Bellevue authorities.
The minute we went to Canada, Burns and Raffet wouldn't talk to us at all. They were telling other people not to talk to us.
So Thompson kept digging and found what he thought was a disturbing clue from their past.
We started looking through their high school yearbook, and Sebastian Burns was in a high school play called The Rope, about two kids who commit the perfect murder.
These are words that Sebastian's character said on stage. Do you mind reading it?
An immaculate murder. I have killed. I have killed for the sake of danger and for the sake of killing.
Ariana McGregor performed in the West Vancouver High School production of Rope, along with Sebastian.
The character in the play is somebody who's arrogant and believes he's better than everybody else. And Sebastian had a quality of being superior. He knew he was intelligent, knew he was good looking.
What was Rope about?
The gimmick of the play is that there's somebody is murdered at the start of the play, and the villains put him into a box, and then they invite guests over. Everybody's at this party wondering when the last guest is going to show up, and nobody knows that actually he's in the box at the front of the play. And so there's lots of suspenseful giggles all the way through, because everybody in the audience knows that there's this person, this thing in the box.
These black and white ethical balls.
Your character on stage says, "We've always said, you and I, that moral concepts of right and wrong don't hold for the intellectually superior. The only crime we can commit is a mistake." There's some people who believe those are words that the real Sebastian Burns might say.
That's ridiculous. There was no time ever during any performance or any rehearsal that anybody was ever thinking anything serious about any of the supposed intellectual philosophies in this play or anything like that.
But detectives believed the fictional murder story did inspire the real-life crime. Even more chilling, the weapon was the same, a baseball bat.
Well, that's just a huge coincidence. I think Sebastian was actually mortified when he realized that he was a suspect in the baseball bat killings of the Rafays, because he said, "Cripes, what's going to happen when they find out about the play?"
How does the play end?
Their superior figures them out. Someone who is actually more intelligent than they are figures it out, and they get caught.
As the investigation continued in Bellevue, the boys were living well in Vancouver. With some of the money Atif inherited from his parents' estate, they bought a convertible and rented an apartment together with another high school pal,
I think I'll stay here forever.
Jimmy Miyoshi. Behind drawn curtains, they hid from the media, who were constantly in pursuit of them and their story.
Hello, is Atif there?
987.
But while they weren't talking to the police were listening to them.
Hello?
Atif Rafe?
Oh, yeah.
Every word they spoke at home or in their car was being recorded.
How are you doing?
Okay, I guess.
The boys had no idea they were now the targets of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP.
The RCMP applied for and ultimately obtained authorization to do wiretaps.
On April 10th, 1995, RCMP investigators intercepted this phone message.
This is Crimper's Hair Salon calling for Sebastian to confirm his appointment with Gregory tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th.
Sebastian could never have imagined that he was about to fall into a trap set by one of the most sophisticated undercover operators in the world.
There was no doubt in my mind that yes, Sebastian Burns was responsible for this, and we were in fact going to get a full confession from him.
By April of 1995, Sebastian Burns and Atif Rafe were Canada's most famous teenage murder suspects.
I remember a time when we were at a bus stop and someone drove by and rolled down the window and yelled, "Murderers!" That was typical. They were pariahs. They were hated.
I was unable to go to college. I was unable to get a job.
But the boys had a plan to make their fortune and live out a lifelong dream. They started work on their very own screenplay about two best friends accused of murdering a family.
the movie was going to be about Sebastian Burns and Atif Rafe and the injustice that was heaped upon them as a result of the suspicion about their involvement in this triple aggravated murder case in Bellevue.
They called it the Great Despisers.
We were worried that it would sound a bit nerdy because having the word great in the title makes it sound kind of nerdy. And if we'd called it, for example, just the Despisers, that would have been more unimpeachably cool. However, we decided to have the courage to stick with this nerdy title.
While the boys worked on what they say is their fictional story about two friends falsely accused, they had no idea the real-life plotline was about to take an astonishing turn.
This is Quimper's Hair Salon calling for Sebastian to confirm his appointment with Gregory.
That simple message from a local hair salon was the moment the RCMP was waiting for.
I think they were very vulnerable to whatever the RCMP had in store for them. These were kids who lived pretty sheltered lives.
When Sebastian was finished at Crimper's salon, a stranger was waiting.
And when Mr. Burns comes out of the salon, the undercover operator just approaches him, what they call the cold approach.
He seemed to me like some kind of an entrepreneur.
He walks up to him and says, "Hey buddy, can you give me a hand? I seem to have locked my keys in the car."
So he asked me for a ride to his hotel, and I gave him a ride.
The stranger took Sebastian to a bar and bought him a drink for his trouble.
I was impressed by that, and I was also sort of intrigued, I guess, or excited about the way that he seemed so ready to be interested in me.
Sebastian told his new friend that he and his buddies had written a screenplay, but he didn't have a job and needed financing. The friend said he knew someone who could help.
Ultimately, the goal was to get Sebastian to meet with the next guy up the chain. And it worked perfectly.
Sebastian thought he was about to meet a connected businessman, but it was this man. Sergeant Hazlitt of the RCMP. We cannot show you his face.
I don't think there's an undercover team like this anywhere in the world. And I say that very seriously.
The best of the best.
The best.
The RCMP spent months preparing to manipulate their target.
They had access to fancy cars, posh hotel suites, weapons, false international documents, beautiful women.
Posing as professional mobsters, the RCMP set up the first meeting with Sebastian at a strip club.
How important was this movie to Sebastian Burns?
It was just about his whole life.
The crime boss told Sebastian he did have cash to invest in his screenplay, but Sebastian would have to earn it. Sebastian had no idea he was being offered work in a make-believe world of crime. Jobs were also promised to Atif and their pal, Jimmy Miyoshi.
I hope these guys are solid, man. These guys are never going to betray me, ever, all right? Never, ever.
Sebastian's first assignment, transport a stolen car for the crime boss.
He had nothing. And then he was offered something. He was offered something that was criminal, something that he probably wouldn't have thought was a good idea had he had something else going on in his life.
He was only paid $200 for the job, and he wasn't happy.
He was disgusted. He made it clear he wasn't happy. He told us he could make more money than that stealing his videos out of stores.
It was essential to the undercover operation that Sebastian continue working for the organization, so the next staged crime is easier, for more cash.
What I want you guys to do, which is no big deal. It's pretty straightforward.
Sebastian and Jimmy Miyoshi go from one bank to another, laundering money.
Cash is here, just take a deposit into this account when you guys run in the first time. Next time, another guy at a different bank.
This time, for a day's work, they get paid $2,000.
Wow, so cool. This has been a real thing ever. I've been operating for.
I couldn't help but be excited about having $2,000 put in my hand, and I'd hardly had to do anything for it.
Months go by. The undercover operators take Sebastian to posh hotels, trying to build trust and draw him out.
How's the movie going? Well, we haven't started filming or anything, but our script is completed. It's brilliant.
Did you sense that Sebastian felt he was smarter than you?
Oh, there's no doubt. He made it clear and told us that on more than one occasion.
Tell me how smart you are. Tell me how smart you are. I'm one of the most intelligent people in the world.
Slowly, the undercover operators bring up the investigation in Bellevue. Hazlitt tries to get Sebastian to confess by telling him he already knows what happened.
Well, I know you did it. You know you did it. The police know you did it.
How did I know? They're not.
Sebastian doesn't admit guilt, but he confides in the mobsters that if the police did find something to tie him to the crime, he might want them to destroy it. And he has a very practical theory. As one of the best-known murder suspects in Canada, he is confident that his movie would make millions if he is suddenly proven innocent.
And a film with that kind of promotion, because the thing is, as it is right now, it's like, ooh, controversy, right, which in itself promotes, right? But this is like, oh, you're heroes. And something goes up to 25, 30 million.
Taking their cue again from their target, the businessmen raise the stakes. They tell Sebastian that the Bellevue police have physical evidence tying him to the crime.
Well, I'll tell you, they're coming to lock your ass up. Yours and your friends.
To make it seem real, Hazlitt shows him this phony memo on Bellevue police letterhead detailing the evidence linking Sebastian to the murders.
Just read this piece of shit.
The mobsters offer to destroy the so-called evidence, but they need Sebastian to tell them exactly what happened in the Raffay house the night of the murders.
Well, I want your help. Yeah, you need my help. So, you tell me what went on down there, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to take care of your problem.
Finally, on July 18, 1995, 1 year after the murders, Sebastian meets the crime boss, Sergeant Hazlitt, at the Ocean Point Resort. And the cameras are rolling.
He walks into this hotel room and takes off his shoes. He stretches out on a love seat. It's only then that Mr. Burns lets his guard down and the dirty little secret that he's been protecting for the last 12 or 13 months starts to unravel on video for the whole wide world to see.
It has taken 3 months of undercover work to get to this moment.
Well, you both guys are up one day and say, hey, let's go off your family and get all their money? Basically. Essentially, yeah, I mean.
And he told me the details how him and Atif Raffay did commit the murders in Bellevue.
How did you do 3 people at once? I don't watch it when I did that.
Extremely, extremely cold individual. It's phenomenal.
To you, man.
The next day, Sebastian brings Atif to the crime boss to tell his story.
How's it feel killing your parents and my daughter and sister?
Pretty rotten, but it's tempered by the fact that I felt that it was necessary.
Why?
It was necessary to, I guess, achieve what I wanted to achieve in this life.
That's all the police needed to hear.
Those were solid, strong confessions that only the individuals that were responsible for that murder would be able to sit down and tell it like it was.
Cheers.
Sebastian, Atif, and Jimmy Miyoshi are all arrested.
You have anything to say?
But this case is just beginning. Sebastian says he's lying, that undercover officers intimidated him into making a false confession.
I believe that if I'd crossed them, that they would have me killed.
Sebastian Burns and Atif Rafay, best friends who once dreamed of making it big in movies, were now behind bars. But no sooner were Sebastian and Atif arrested than the same Canadian government that set a trap to catch them led an international battle to spare their lives.
We should not be sending anybody back.
The case went all the way up to Canada's Supreme Court.
Persons who leave the country and commit offenses outside of the country should expect that they will be punished under the laws of the jurisdiction in which they committed the crime.
Sending the boys back across the border to Washington meant they would face the death penalty if convicted. A punishment Canada had long since abolished and considered inhumane.
We never knew when we were going to be leaving for the United States.
And every time we heard, oh, there may be a trial, you know, next year, then it became the next year.
And that lasted for about 4 years, where we thought that we were a week away from extradition.
After 6 years of legal wrangling, the King County prosecutor in Seattle agreed to Canada's demands not to seek the death penalty. Sebastian and Atif, now 25-year-old men, were finally extradited to face murder charges.
Mr. Rafay, you're charged. Mr. Burns, you're charged in the cause numbers that I just read with 3 counts of aggravated murder in the first degree.
If convicted, the penalty would now be life with no parole.
That goes with the motion to dismiss.
They were appointed a team of attorneys. Representing Sebastian was Teresa Olson, an ardent, if eccentric public defender who believed in the boy's innocence.
Of course they didn't do the killings. The evidence is clear that they didn't do the killings.
Olson worked tirelessly on the case, running down leads and witnesses. But in the summer of 2002, the case took a bizarre turn. Guards at the King County Jail reported seeing Olson having sex with Sebastian during an attorney-client meeting.
Shut up!
The well-publicized scandal even caught the attention of late-night comic Jay Leno.
A female lawyer in Seattle is in trouble for having sex in jail with her client, who is a murderer. How creepy is that? Huh? Sex with a lawyer. Ooh.
And brought the trial to a grinding halt.
This court had no choice but to appoint new counsel.
Sebastian's new attorneys were a dream team. Ivy League-trained Jeff Robinson and Song Richardson.
There is a lot at stake for Sebastian Burns, and we will be fighting till the end.
187's a retired artist.
They were among Seattle's best and most expensive criminal defense lawyers.
Exactly.
Along with Amanda Lee, they staunchly believed in the boy's innocence and agreed to take the high-profile case at a public defender's wage.
They have been essentially judged and treated as though they were guilty from the beginning when the evidence just isn't there.
What kind of pressure is on all of your shoulders as we approach this trial?
Nothing more or less than the rest of Sebastian Burns' natural life.
They were up against 2 of the most seasoned and respected prosecutors in Seattle.
I want to talk.
We're going to get in.
Let's sit up.
Roger Davidheiser would be joining James Conant on the case.
It's not just justice, it's the truth. What we're after here is the truth. And I would submit to you that's what separates our side from theirs.
By September 2003, Sebastian and Atif had been in jail for more than 8 years, charged but never convicted for the Rafay family murders.
You have to recognize that these are human beings, and they have had their lives stolen from them. And to make it worse, they've had their lives stolen from them to somehow resolve a murder that they didn't commit.
The case would turn on those controversial confessions.
Make-believe mobsters extracting confessions from teenagers. Is that allowed in the state of Washington?
It's not allowed in the state of Washington, and I don't think it's allowed anywhere else in the United States under the circumstances that it was done in this case.
Are you comfortable using the results from an illegal undercover investigation by U.S. laws in your case?
This investigation was not illegal because it was conducted in Canada by Canadian authorities targeting Canadian citizens. It was an investigation that they undertook separate and apart from the Bellevue investigation.
This case, it's not only about the lives of my two friends. It's about the responsibility of police and prosecutors to do their job properly and to act in good faith. And they have not done that in this case.
It would be up to Superior Court Judge Charles Murtel,
well, please be seated, everyone,
to decide if Sebastian and Atif's chilling confessions caught on tape would be allowed to damn them in an American court.
Other prosecutors in other cases with evidence just like that have told jurors, just like the ones that will sit in our case, that it's a slam dunk, and those jurors very comfortably have convicted people and sentenced them to die, and they've been wrong.
Judge Murtel was about to make the most controversial ruling of his career. The boys' lives would depend on what he was about to say.
48 Hours continues. Hours continues.
I think that everyone who knew Sebastian thought that he was going on to do something interesting with his life. Yeah, people expected him to be a leader, to do something interesting, and I hope one day he will.
Sebastian Burns and Atif Rafay should have been celebrating at the West Vancouver High School 10-year reunion. Instead, they had become the class of '93's most infamous graduates. Prosecutors say just 1 year out of high school, these brilliant best friends tried to commit the perfect murder. It was a brutal crime.
There's blood all over his face.
That shocked the upscale suburb of Bellevue, Washington. Atif's mother, father, and sister bludgeoned to death. The motive, insurance money. The boys got away and were living in Canada until undercover police officers caught them on tape boasting about how they did it.
How did you do 3 people at once?
Now, on the eve of their murder trial, a judge would decide if a jury would get to hear those chilling confessions.
I do not find the undercover officers' conduct in this case shocking or outrageous, although they were deceitful, persistent, and aggressive. They engaged in tricks, but not dirty tricks.
It was a controversial ruling allowing the boys' own words to be used against them.
What'd you do first? The mother.
And would set the tone for the whole trial.
Just how powerful is the impact of this video of these 2 boys confessing to murders?
It's incredibly powerful. When I first saw it, I was taken aback. I was shocked. There are 2 young men seemingly laughing about slaughtering 3 people and saying, I did it.
And while the confessions may be shocking, the defense says they're not true.
This case is about what happens when a presumption of guilt, when a gut feeling that you have the right suspects takes over from logical and objective evaluation of the evidence. This case is about what happens when you pursue individuals as opposed to pursuing the truth.
Finally, in November 2003, more than 9 years after the Rafay family murders, Sebastian and Atif get their day in court.
The jury's going to finally hear the story of what really happened to the Rafay family, and they'll hear the story of Sebastian and Atif's innocence.
But prosecutors had a very different story to tell.
Sebastian Burns is young, thoughtful, charismatic, manipulative, and most importantly, a killer. A brutal killer.
You've been portrayed as a monster.
Yeah, yes.
Maniacal, plotting, a murderer. Are you those things?
No.
The state's theory is we want to make the jurors hate these two young men. Essentially, they make it a test of character as opposed to a test of evidence.
And character is at the heart of the prosecution's case.
All rise. Superior Court is now in session.
The defendants were two young men who believed they could commit the perfect murder.
Roger David Heiser opened for the state.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you will hear in the end is that it was this very hubris that sealed their fate, and their arrogant and unrealistic belief that they were smart enough to achieve mastery over the police and their investigation.
He zeroed in on the piece of evidence that launched the case, and for the first time revealed a startling flaw in the boys' plan.
I need an ambulance.
They made that 911 call too quickly.
We think they're dead.
My belief is that they just walked straight into the house and made the 911 call.
The timing was critical, so we asked Detective Thompson to retrace their drive home from downtown Seattle, where they were last seen that night.
18 minutes.
What does that tell you?
And 18 minutes would give them 3 minutes in the house.
And 3 minutes, said the prosecutors, was not enough time in the house to find the bodies and do all the things Sebastian and Atif told the police they did.
And think about what they had to do in that 3 minutes. 3 minutes to arrive home, pull the family car into the garage, enter the home through the garage, discover and comprehend that Sultana, Tariq, and Basma had been brutally attacked and lay dead in 3 different areas of that house.
The revelation startled the defense, but Sung Richardson was thinking on her feet.
I'm asking you, how long does it take to walk into a house and see these 2 brutally butchered bodies of Atif's family and then run downstairs and call 911?
And turn the prosecution's argument on its head.
How long is 3 minutes? Well, let's see. That was about a minute and a half.
But remember, it wasn't just the murders. In that 3 minutes, the boys also had to figure out there'd been a burglary and that a VCR and Discman were missing.
There's been some kind of break-in.
I hear the voice of a person who has contrived a story that can only be explained by somebody who knew very well what had happened in the Rafay family home.
I was out of my mind at the time. I was totally in shock, totally staggered and confounded and was almost totally hysterical.
In a case where every minute matters, the defense bolsters their claim of the boys' innocence by playing up statements the neighbors on both sides of the Rafay house gave to police in the days following the murders. The neighbors initially said that they heard pounding coming from inside the Rafay house at a time when the boys
have an airtight alibi. You were standing in this driveway and
Mark Seidel lived right next door to the Rafays.
How loud were the bangs you were hearing?
They're pretty hard hits. A little bit harder than you'd hang a picture.
Seidel says back then he didn't think a murder was taking place next door and figured the Rafays, who had just moved in, were probably unpacking.
I sort of thought about going over and helping them so they could go to sleep, but luckily that night I didn't.
The Rafays' other next-door neighbor, Julie Rackley, testified that she also heard sounds.
Initially, I thought it just sounded like hammering. It had sort of an odd resonance to it.
The neighbors who heard these sounds described them in great detail and verified what they were for the police, all heard them well before 10 o'clock at night.
And at 10 o'clock, Sebastian and Atif were still seen at the movie theater.
If the jury believes these initial reports that Mark Seidel and Judy Rackley gave to police, your case could be in trouble.
Absolutely. You can't be in two places at one time. There's no debating that point.
There are two independent neighbors who separately heard the murder happen at the end of twilight before 10 o'clock. And we were known to be on the other side of town when that happened. It was impossible for us to have committed this crime.
Prosecutors contend it is possible. Even though the boys were seen going to the 9:50 movie, there's no proof that they stayed.
Is there a way for these two boys to exit the theater without drawing attention to themselves, say during the movie?
Jose Martinez sold the boys movie tickets that night, and he showed us how they could sneak out from this theater.
Got this exit behind the curtain or the other one over there.
If they slip through this curtain, you're not letting any light into the theater.
Correct.
Then up these stairs.
And out this exit door.
Doors outside.
The defense protested that even though it could have happened that way, there was no proof that it did, and that prosecutors were grasping at straws to get a conviction.
They sifted through Sebastian's history and his life, and Atif's history and his life, and tried to find anything that would make them look like bad people.
In fact, months into the trial, prosecutors brought this intriguing surprise witness from the boys' past, who said she had evidence that could turn the case. But first, they would have to convince the judge to let the jury hear what she had to say.
You swear or affirm.
Nazgul Shifte was a friend from the boys' high school days who had dated Sebastian.
What was this comment that Sebastian Burns made that stood out at you?
He said, I want to try to kill someone one day to see how it would feel, because I think I would find it enjoyable.
She claimed a late-night conversation she'd had years ago with the boys in her bedroom had planted the seeds for murder.
Did you think he was serious?
He wasn't laughing, and he said it in a serious tone.
Sebastian doesn't deny having the conversation, but emphatically says he wasn't serious.
It's a one-line paraphrase of a sarcasm from a hippy-dippy 3 a.m. conversation 10 years ago, and I can't remember enough about it to defend myself against it.
If anyone would reflect on that and think, imagine if the worst parts of my personality, maybe the worst moments when I was 18 years old, that I would be reminded of them for the next 9 years of my life, and that in the public's eye would be the person that I'd become, I think people would really shudder. It's a nightmare.
Thank you for your time and your testimony.
It was certainly damning testimony, but the jury would never hear it.
There is no question, had I known about this last spring, I would have admitted this. 4 months into this thing, I can't stop this process and let everyone dash to the four winds to try and research this.
The judge's decision flustered prosecutors. But there's another witness, more powerful and much more damning.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to
The friend the boys swore would never betray them.
Do you recognize Mr. Burns and Mr. Rafe in the courtroom here today?
Yes, I do.
It had been years since Jimmy Miyoshi had seen his high school buddies, Sebastian and Atif. Jimmy had moved to Japan and was living under another name when prosecutors forced him to return to Seattle and face his friends at their murder trial.
He was, in no uncertain terms, conflicted. In fact, he spent the last 2 or 3 years of his life trying to avoid the eventuality of being compelled to come to court and testify against his 2 best friends.
Jimmy could have easily been sitting next to his best friends, charged with a crime. Back in 1995, during the undercover operation, Jimmy was also a target of the RCMP. The RCMP believed Miyoshi helped the boys plan the murder of the Rafe family, and they wanted him to give a full confession on tape, just like his friends had done.
You know what went on down there in that house? What went on? Yeah.
But no matter how much he was pressed for details, Miyoshi refused to implicate his friends in the murder.
Yeah, you know who killed the parents? Yeah. Who? Is that what you want? And I just want you to explain to me exactly the purposes of you wanting to know. Is that so we can establish this kind of totally for trust? Totally for trust? Totally.
In some ways, was Jimmy Miyoshi the smartest of them all?
He's not in jail.
In fact, Jimmy was arrested with Sebastian and Atif and interrogated by authorities in Canada.
He was told that he might face the death penalty himself. He was told that his family, his job, his future would be ruined unless he said that Sebastian and Atif confessed to him.
Back then, Jimmy told the police that his friends were innocent.
At the time of your arrest on July 31, 1995, were they honest answers?
They were answers that, I guess, the intention of a lot of those answers was to protect Sebastian and Atif.
At that point, on July 31, 1995, why is it that you gave answers that were designed to protect Sebastian and Atif?
And I guess it was also in a way to protect myself, but in general, because I didn't want Sebastian and Atif to get arrested and potentially convicted.
But under increasing pressure, Miyoshi eventually agreed to cooperate. And in exchange, he was granted immunity from charges of conspiracy to commit murder. Suddenly, he began to reveal more to the police about what he knew. But now the question loomed. Would Miyoshi betray his best friends?
Had this subject ever come up before, the notion of Atif Rafe killing his family?
No, this was the first time.
In a halting voice that often dropped to a whisper, Jimmy told the court that it was during a drive from Seattle to Vancouver when Atif first brought up the idea of killing his family.
What was your response to the notion of Atif's notion of killing his family?
I guess I was listening, and I mean, he was my friend at the time, and I guess in a way I was neutral on that notion.
On the stand, Jimmy recounted a discussion about how the boys would commit the crime.
Remember which methods were discussed?
I remember something about gassing the house, and I remember a discussion about, I guess, using a baseball bat.
What do you remember about why a baseball bat could or should be used?
I guess a quick and a painless way of killing someone.
I don't think there's any question that he was a sounding board for them.
The prosecution says Jimmy consulted on an especially chilling part of the plan. Sebastian and Atif stayed here at the Rafe family home during the 5 days before the murders. And it was no coincidence. It was part of the plan, prosecutors say,
to commit the perfect crime.
If they had been living in the house previously, that any kind of hair or whatever samples that were collected after wouldn't necessarily mean that they had done it.
By virtue of their being in the house for several days, any fingerprint that would be found or could be found could be explained as a result of their having been there for several days. Any hair evidence that might be found could be explained for them having been in the house for several days prior to the murders.
It's diabolical, but it's pretty clever.
Damn clever.
Finally, Jimmy gave the prosecution what they needed. He said that Atif watched while Sebastian bludgeoned the family.
I remember hearing about how, I guess, Atif was pretty distraught, and that from the moment that Sebastian had struck his mother, that it was kind of there's no going back. And
how hard was it to sit and listen to Jimmy Miyoshi's testimony?
It was enormously difficult. I think it was difficult for him as well. As I say, I am outraged that he did it, but at the same time, I think I reserve my real outrage for the people who forced him to do it.
Did you discuss a plan to murder the Raffaele family with Jimmy Miyoshi?
No, we didn't. Never.
Why did Jimmy Miyoshi testify that you did?
Because he had a life sentence held to his head. And if he didn't say what the police and the prosecution wanted him to say, that life sentence was going to go off.
It's the first time in 8 years that you have ever said anything like that, isn't it, sir?
I'm not sure.
And isn't what happened?
The defense tried to hammer back. Jimmy once lied to save his friends, so he could be easily lying now to save himself.
You're making it up as you go along, sir. That's why you're saying things for the first time yesterday.
No, I don't believe I am.
Do you believe that Jimmy Miyoshi is a liar?
Jimmy Miyoshi is a self-admitted liar. Jimmy Miyoshi acknowledges that he has lied. The question will be, how many lies does Jimmy Miyoshi get to tell? Mr. Miyoshi, this conversation was on
The defense needed to come back with something strong, and they had an arsenal of forensic evidence that flew in the face of Miyoshi's testimony. They told the jury that there were 3 killers in the house that night. Experts analyzed the patterns of blood on the wall and found drops everywhere except this area, where there was no blood, indicating another killer may have stood there during the attack. They also said a pillow was moved during the bludgeoning.
So we have killer number 1 moving the pillow. We have killer number 2 bludgeoning Dr. Raffaele with the bat. And then we have killer number 3 who has to remain in the exact same place throughout the entire duration of the attack on Dr. Raffaele.
And there was even more tangible evidence, a single hair on Tariq Raffaele's bed.
According to the police officers there, this was an important hair because this hair, according to the Bellevue Police Department, would tell them who committed this crime.
Did it match Atif?
No.
Sebastian?
No.
Sultana?
No.
Basma?
No.
Tariq?
No. We don't know whether that hair originated from someone who sat in the same seat that Sebastian Burns sat in at the movie theater, or whether it was picked up by Dr. Raffaele at his workplace, or how it got on that bed.
Or if it was a hair from the killer.
Or if it was a hair from the killer.
Prosecutors also added DNA evidence needs to fit a pattern and appear in more than one place at a crime scene.
That DNA profile appeared nowhere else in that house. There was absolutely no other pattern of trace evidence that could even be remotely suggested to be related to that hair. That was an isolated hair.
So, with the forensic evidence inconclusive, the case comes down to whom the jury would believe.
You're saying the testimony of one of my best friends, don't listen to that. My own words on the videotape. Don't listen to that. Just take my word for it. We didn't do it.
Defense calls Sebastian Burns.
All rise for the jury.
More than 100 witnesses would take the stand in the State versus Burns and Raffay.
Could you kill again? Circumstances are right.
Finally, Canada's most secret undercover operation would be exposed before the jury. And so would the question that had lingered for so many years.
Why would you confess to a murder you didn't do?
At that point, it seemed like the only safe choice. It seemed like the best choice.
Why on earth would anyone confess to a murder they didn't do unless they were petrified that they were actually going to be killed themselves or people they loved were going to come to some type of harm?
The defense set out to prove that the scales were tipped from the beginning. Professional liars.
In 1975, I was first trained in undercover work.
Against teenage boys.
Have you worked as the primary undercover operator before?
Yes.
I am frightened by the fact that this kind of undercover operation can be used ostensibly to search for the truth when it is built in whole on lies and manipulation and threats.
Mr. Burns, come on forward.
Sebastian would have to convince the jury to believe him now and not to believe what he said on those tapes.
I was in way over my head, and I did not want to be involved with these guys.
I was upset with myself for having agreed to drive the car.
Sebastian began his side of the story with the first assignment from the crime boss, transporting that stolen car.
What was your reaction when you heard that they wanted you to drive this stolen car?
Well, pretty quickly, I felt that I'd been tricked.
Sebastian, why didn't you just look at him and say, I am out of here. Walk away.
No, but there is no walking away.
You want to know what I did my time for? I told to the guy. When it came time for court, the person that could finger me, they're not around anymore.
Sebastian says he couldn't walk away from criminals whose power seemed to be so far-reaching.
I believe that if I'd cross them, or if they weren't happy with me, or if they thought that I was going to betray them, that they would have me killed.
I just assumed that, you, with your connections, that if I were to you around, okay, I would just assume that I would wake up one day with a bullet in my head.
On the stand, Song Richardson pressed Sergeant Hazlitt about his scare tactics.
Sebastian could easily, very easily, have believed that you and your organization would hurt people if they crossed you, right?
He could have believed it, yes.
And that you would kill people if they ever crossed you, right?
Well, I've never said that. It goes to Sebastian Burns' imagination. Let him sit back when he goes home at night and imagine whatever he chooses to.
Is there any time in which your character directly threatens Sebastian Burns?
No, never.
The idea was not to frighten Sebastian, but to make him comfortable talking about murder to other murderers.
I know you did that, murder. That's why you're here, because you're solid.
Could Sebastian Burns have walked away from his relationship with you at any time he chose to do so?
Without a doubt, he didn't have to return our calls.
Hey, it's Sebastian leaving message number 3.
Sebastian stayed, the defense argued, because he believed the Bellevue police were fabricating evidence against him.
I'm gonna show you something. You never saw this from me.
That phony memo detailing the evidence that the cops had against the boys.
Just read this piece of
The undercover operators only offered to destroy the evidence if Sebastian confessed.
You don't say to Sebastian, look, Sebastian, if you didn't do it, just say so. We'll still deal with that evidence for you. We'll deal with it so you won't get convicted. But if you didn't do it, just say so. We'll still help. You never said that, right?
No, I didn't say that because, up until this time, Sebastian Burns had never denied the involvement in the murders to me.
Going into the meeting on July 18th, what was your plan?
My plan was to claim to be the murderer that they insisted that they believed that I was.
And to be convincing, Sebastian says he studied newspaper accounts, so he'd know details of the murders.
What'd you do first? The mother. Then? And dad and sister.
As the cameras rolled, Sebastian confirmed the police theory that the weapon was a baseball bat.
Did you use a metal or a wooden bat?
And the eerie notion that the killer had showered before leaving.
I think it's a shower to clean off, blood and that kind of stuff.
And that wasn't the only reason why detectives found no blood on the boys.
How do you it's on a baseball bat, have to shower out, no blood on you? Do it.
Sebastian pointed out how he and Atif would profit from the crime.
Whatever money we get, it's like we would invest it in our film, I guess.
And he gave up the most sought-after clue, the loophole in the alibi.
What'd you do the dirty deed? During the movie. And I'm gonna get you out of the trouble you're in.
Flattered.
Huh?
I'm flattered by your attention.
Atif explained that while Sebastian killed his family, he staged a break-in.
What did you do when you were in the house?
Stood around. Ranked out a VCR.
You told Hazlitt, am I correct, that you committed these murders of the Raffay family, during the movie? Am I right?
Correct.
That the VCR was taken to also contribute to the simulation of a breaking and entering?
That's right.
You had the alibi of the movie.
The prosecution had another bombshell ready to drop on the defense. It wasn't the first time Sebastian used a movie as an alibi.
You got into a car collision, didn't you?
Yes.
And you were driving your family car at the time?
That's correct, yes.
I mean, you hit a pole in a parking lot. Did you own up to it at the time?
No, I did not.
When he was 16, Sebastian staged an elaborate cover-up to conceal the fact that he had wrecked the family car.
Mr. Burns, the reality is what you said about doing was very similar to what you told Hazlitt you did in this case. Isn't that correct?
I told Hazlitt that we committed a murder, which we didn't do.
Well, Mr. Burns, let me stop you there for a moment.
Roger David Heiser drew a haunting parallel between the accident scene and the murder scene. Back in high school, Sebastian went to great lengths to make it seem like someone else did the damage while he was at the movie. But the insurance company caught him in the cover-up.
And in March of 1992, albeit with this stupid little car crash, what you decided to do was to pick up the pieces of evidence that were at the scene of this collision. Am I right?
Correct.
You put those back in your car, am I correct?
Correct.
You took them to an entirely different location in North Vancouver, am I right?
Correct.
And you staged a scene in a parking lot, am I right?
Basically.
You manipulated the evidence to appear as though it was something that it wasn't. Am I right?
Yes.
And the reason you did that, sir, was so that you could say that this accident occurred while you were at the movies. Am I right?
Correct.
Sir, you weren't at the movies when that accident occurred, were you?
No. The difference is that the first one is a car accident and the second one is a homicide.
That's correct, Mr. Burns. That is a difference.
And the difference is also that in the first case, I was responsible for the car accident, and in the second case, I had nothing to do with this homicide.
David Heiser wasn't about to let that statement go in front of the jury. He had more of that damning tape.
Can't tell you something, like, I felt like, I was capable, and like, have you ever killed a person?
And on July 18th of 1995, after you told him that you had in fact killed the Raffaele family, you told him that you did it because you felt capable of killing, right?
Correct, yes.
Did you see it happen?
Yeah.
All three?
No, only one.
Which one?
My mom.
The demeanor with which they deliver this message of what they accomplished that night in Bellevue is chilling.
Did any of them fight?
Yeah.
Well, that's a story that hasn't really been told, because
I think you want to tell it.
I know that.
You can hear Atif giggling in the background and kind of going, oh God, oh God.
Basically, his father was nothing, and curious episode was the sister who basically, was standing up and walking around or whatever. And so it took a little effort.
Your behavior on that tape, when there's some laughing, did you think that the murder of the Raffaele family was some sort of a comedy?
No, absolutely not. But we were lying, and I was not thinking about the murder of the Raffaele family when I was talking.
To a certain extent, I had essentially put the real events out of my mind entirely, so that I was really only thinking of the story that I was selling to Mr. Hazlitt.
That's not part of a story that two scared individuals come up with because they think it's what two mafia characters want to hear. That's the truth. That's the truth coming from the mind of Atif Raffaele and Sebastian Burns.
It's a challenge to sum it all up in a couple of hours.
6 months of testimony comes down to one final argument.
There is no gray area. There is nothing in between. Either you must believe what Sebastian Burns says and every single thing he says, or you must convict him.
James Conant will speak for the state.
You like your odds?
Very much.
Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Jeff Robinson knows this is his last chance in front of the jury, and he will have to counter with everything he has.
How many times does the evidence have to tell us it's not Sebastian and it's not Atif before we listen? Please listen.
He points to the bloody scene in Tariq's bedroom and evidence of 3 killers.
3 people went into Dr. Raffaele's room, and there are 3 unknown DNA profiles.
Robinson reminds them that there is no forensic evidence linking the boys to the crime.
And the question that you're required to ask yourselves is, what has the state shown me to make me believe that he is guilty without having one reason to doubt it?
Mr. Conant, the floor is yours.
Your Honor, thank you. There can be no doubt in your mind that these 2 are the killers.
The prosecution insists it is Sebastian's own words that leave no room for doubt.
How did you kill 3 people at once? I don't watch it when I hear that.
And ultimately, the words that came out of Sebastian Burns' mouth led to his demise. His hubris led to his demise.
What would be most compelling to the 12 jurors? Would it be the neighbors who thought they heard the murders that night when the boys were spotted at the movie theater? Or would they be haunted by Jimmy Miyoshi's words damning his 2 former best friends? Would the jury believe that Sebastian was scared of those undercover operators? Or is this the picture of a young man who thinks he's about to get away with murder? For the last time, the jury is asked to envision the last moments in the Raffaele family home.
This is the horror that they left behind, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we must not lose sight of.
Finally, it is up to the jury to make its decision.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're retired to deliberate your verdicts.
In the script for The Great Despisers, 2 boys are wrongfully convicted and executed. After 4 days of deliberations, 10 years after the murders, the final act in the real-life plotline.
All rise for the jury.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Glenn Sebastian Burns, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1, verdict form 1F. We, the jury, find the defendant, Atif Ahmed Rafay, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree as charged in count 3.
I did not believe that they didn't have reasonable doubt. I just didn't believe it.
I'm afraid of him. I think he's very scary. I looked at him a few times and he was glaring at me personally, and anybody that commit a crime like that is a frightening person.
I was looking at individual jurors just to see if they, I don't know, I guess I was looking for some kind of an answer.
I wonder how they sleep at night. I wonder how they came to that decision.
Back up. One way or the other.
With the verdict that was given, can you sleep well at night now?
Yes.
No second thoughts?
No.
No way.
Not with anyone?
Not a doubt.
Nope.
I personally myself, to the very day of the end of the trial, wanted them to be innocent. And in the end, I was totally overcome by the evidence, obviously. But I think all of us were wishing that some suspect would be guilty so that we could not convict these 2 young men.
On October 22nd, 2004, 5 months after the verdict,
Good morning. Repeat.
Sebastian and Atif were back in court.
Sebastian, anything to say before they put you away?
This time to hear their sentence from the judge.
Send Mr. Burns a very clear message that he has been found guilty. Send him to prison for the rest of his natural life, times 3 consecutive life sentences.
Mr. Burns?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sebastian had his own message for the court.
With all due respect to the jurors, the verdict was wrong.
In the audience were jurors who had convicted him and the undercover operators who had sealed his fate.
I certainly feel sorry for the victims. I feel sorry for their surviving son.
This was his only expression of sympathy
Before I continue, I would just encourage you to consider.
in a speech that went on
And that's
for
what
almost 2
our
hours.
jury was made to have.
I want to insist today on the truth that we are innocent.
Atif never took the stand during the trial.
And I love my parents. I revere their memory to this day.
He used this moment to admit he was ashamed.
Your Honor, the impersonation that I gave on those videotapes, there's no relation, is alien to everything that I've ever felt or thought. I truly admired my father. I was probably closer to my mother than to any other person that I ever will be. And the memory of her wit and her charm and her keen human sympathy, they're dear to me to this day.
Mr. Rafay, thank you. Unlike your colleague, I find you genuinely remorseful, Mr. Rafay. I think the tragedy for you and ultimately your family was a meeting, a fateful meeting at probably a school cafeteria or a school ground, I don't know where it occurred, with Mr. Burns.
Judge Mertel saved his harshest words for Sebastian Burns.
Mr. Burns, you're not immoral. You're amoral. You are an arrogant, convicted killer. You are not a kid, as you so often refer to yourself. You're an adult, and you will be held responsible as an adult for your premeditated, naked, vicious massacre of this family. It is therefore the conclusion of this court that you should be sentenced on count 1 to life without possibility of parole, count 2 to life without possibility of parole, and on count 3 to life without possibility of parole, those 3 sentences to run consecutively.
Back up.
It's taken them a decade, but prosecutors will send the Raffae's only son and his best friend to prison for life.
We've been saying all along, they thought they planned the perfect murder.
Justice has been done for the 3 victims, and our community has held the 2 individuals responsible for this accountable for their conduct. There is a great deal of satisfaction in being part of that, a great deal of satisfaction.
The 911 call came in around 10:50 p.m.
County 911.
It's a female hyperventilating.
Okay, calm down. Where are you at?
And then the phone goes dead.
She's pinging on Kenner 2595. She's extremely out of breath. She sounds like she's running.
That we got first responders arriving to a unmaintained county road, 2595. They don't know what they're getting into as they're going down this dark road in the middle of the night.
38, we're out with that female, 25.
They see a white female flagging them down.
What's going on?
My husband, he went to go help me. My Jeep is stuck in the back around the corner, and he's been shot in the head, please. Is he okay? I need to know if my husband is okay.
Dispatch calls me on the cell phone and said, hey, I think they need you out there on scene. I'm gonna check her out, make sure she's okay. And then, yeah.
You want a little bit of oxygen to help you out?
She was just frantic. She had blood on her shoulder area, and it's all over her leg and her shirt.
What's your name?
Chacey.
Chacey? Chacey what?
Poynter.
Tell us what happened.
I heard a shot, and the Jeep started rolling, and I didn't see anything, and I saw a shadow. That's all I saw.
No, was it your husband? What's his name?
Robert Poynter.
Robert Poynter?
Yes, he's a firefighter. That's my husband's blood.
Just breathe for me.
That's my husband's blood on me.
I arrived here right around midnight. So we're walking up with our flashlights. At this point on, you can start making out a silhouette of somebody still in the Jeep.
The Jeep was covered in blood. There was no indication of a struggle.
He's around the corner.
We had a witness, Chacey Poynter, and there was somebody loose, at large that had killed her husband.
And I could see Robert. And as soon as that shot, he slumped over into the passenger seat. I just wanted him to be okay.
Was he dead or alive?
He was dead.
This is a case about sex, lies, money, and murder.
When I'm awake, I see his face. And when I'm asleep, I see it. It hurts.
And he's been shot in the head, please. He's around the corner.
The harrowing night of September 9th, 2016 is forever etched in the memory of Chacey Poynter.
Calm yourself down.
It's something I can't get out of my head.
And when I walked up to him, I yelled his name, and I just felt something on
When
me.
she says her husband, Robert Poynter, a decorated fire department captain, was gunned down by a shadowy figure just feet away from her on this rural road in Royce City, Texas.
You can see if you look below us, tire treads from tractors, deep ruts. It's a true farm road.
Detective Michael Burke photographed the scene.
The night of the murder, there was still water in the ruts, they were still muddy. It was pretty rough.
It's not even a traveled road. It's for farmers to use to make access to their fields.
That night, Sergeant Shane Meek wondered how Chacey and her husband ended up on this broken road and questioned a breathless Chacey in the back of his squad car.
Breathe for me, Miss Poynter. Calm down and breathe for me, okay? Breathe fast like that. You're not helping yourself, okay? Slow breaths.
Chacey says the couple planned to meet at a fast food restaurant for tacos.
I was gonna meet him up at the Jack in the Box. I don't ever take this road.
All right. What made you come down this one?
I missed my last one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did. I've never been down this road before.
She texted her husband. What do you say to him?
Told him that GPS said that I was 3 miles out.
Chacey says while texting, she got stuck.
I called him after that. I told him that my Jeep was stuck and that I needed him to come help me.
As a fire captain, Robert was used to coming to the rescue. He rushed to her side.
I stayed on the phone with him. He drove out there.
Why did he park there? He told Chacey that the ruts were too deep and he wasn't going to be able to get his truck down here.
I met him almost all the way down to his truck, and we walked back together. And then he went to go get my Jeep and got on the driver's side.
As Chacey waited on the side of the road for Robert to back up, she heard a gunshot.
I don't think I reacted to the sound. It was Robert. I jumped in the Jeep. It was rolling very slowly. I was holding his head in my left hand, and I put the Jeep in park with my right hand, and I was calling his name. I could see his eyes. I could just feel the blood.
This was a clean assassination. Robert unfortunately didn't have a clue what happened to him. The victim was sitting in the driver's seat. He's got an entry wound approximately right here on the temple.
On the right side of his
Yes,
head?
sir. And the wadding from a shotgun shell was still in his skull.
And could you tell if that blast was shot from forward of the vehicle or from behind?
It was hard to tell.
Chacey says as she ran for help, she saw that shadowy figure.
There was a man. There's a tall person. That's all I know.
Okay.
He was taller than me.
And what was he wearing?
Dark clothes is all I know. Dark.
Did you see any type of firearm, rifle, or anything like that in his hands?
No.
While sympathetic, Sergeant Meek was puzzled.
That some guy just happened to be standing in the shadows of the trees to step out and shoot this guy point blank in the head with a gun just didn't make sense.
All right, well, give me a second. My partners need to speak to me. I'll be right back with you, okay?
I was terrified. I had just watched my husband get shot. And the man that did it was still out there.
But whoever that suspect was, why would he want Robert Poynter dead? Robert was a devoted public servant, a career firefighter.
Honestly, it's one of those things you don't even believe in at first.
At the University Park Firehouse near Dallas, where Robert spent 19 years as a firefighter and later a captain, the pain of his loss is still raw. for his buddies, Jason, Paul, Earl, and Mark.
But every day you still feel this absence.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still miss the man.
No, how could you not? I think of Bob every day I come up here. It burns me up inside. But every time I pass his locker, I get choked up inside. It makes me want to cry. I'm about to cry now.
A firefighter with the touch of a gentle giant.
My last fire with Bob, this little girl, she was crying. Bob took the time, comfort her and tell her we were all okay and everything was fine.
And that's the way Bob always was. Not just that little girl, his girls. His girls were #1 on his list, always, always.
No matter how much help you needed, he was always there.
Robert Poynter had 3 daughters, a 6.5-year-old with Chacey, and from his first marriage, Natalie and Nicole.
The things you miss the most are the simple things, like being able to call him, being able to see him and hug him, you know.
Back in 2008, his 20-year marriage to their mother, Amy Poynter, his high school sweetheart, began to unravel.
Signs started showing up that something was amiss. He was shorter with conversations. He wasn't home as much. There were excuses when he was gone.
Then Nicole discovered her dad had a second cell phone.
That was the initial realization that there was somebody else.
And eventually this other woman, you learn her name.
It was Chacey Tyler Mormon.
Chacey was a 20-year-old working as a nurse aide. She was introduced to Robert through a mutual friend.
From the first moment that I ever met him in person, we were never apart after that.
What was his marital status?
As far as I knew, he was separated.
From what I understand, she continued to go up to the station to kind of let him know that she was interested, and did that quite often.
She pursued Bob. She pursued Bob.
We'd been married 20 years, and here's a young girl that's giving him attention, and I just think that she continued to try and, fill any need and be there.
We started seeing each other in December of 2007, and I was pregnant by May of 2009.
Robert and Chacey were married on December 28, 2009. She was 22. He was 40.
I knew I wanted to marry him.
What is it about Robert that you fell in love with?
He's goofy. He would just make me laugh.
But almost 7 years later, Chacey says the couple's love faded.
And he's been shot in the head, please.
And that night in the squad car, Chacey decided to share her frustrations.
I was young and stupid when we got married. I didn't want to be married anymore. We've been having problems. I was coming to meet him at the Jackson box so we could talk.
What do y'all fight over?
My daughter. He's trying to take my daughter away from me.
Just over an hour after Chacey Poynter held her husband's bloodied head in her hands, she kept giving Sergeant Meek details, not of the shooting,
We're trying to work on
but
it.
of the state of her marriage.
Why would he try to take your daughter away? Like, what reason did he
Because
give you?
he knows that that's what's going to hurt me the most.
Yeah, her story kept adding all these different twists and turns and pieces of information that just weren't fitting into place of the puzzle.
You're talking about marital problems at a time when your husband's body is still in a Jeep. Why did you go there?
I don't know.
Chacey says 3 years into their marriage, the couple grew apart.
Nothing really set it off. We slept in separate bedrooms. I never felt he loved me like he could have. He loved his ex-wife a lot, and I felt like she still had a lot of him.
According to Chacey, Robert had a temper. He was taking testosterone and steroids to treat low testosterone levels. And Chacey claims that made him violent.
There would just be times, he would grab me by my hair. I could get thrown up against the wall.
This was verbal abuse and physical abuse, is that right?
Verbal, mental, physical.
Robert's ex-wife, Amy, doesn't buy it.
That is all made up. He did get on treatments. He had normal testosterone. For her to say that he had roid rage and all that, that just wasn't him.
So she's lying to me, is what you're saying?
Yes, I am.
When Natalie was 16, she lived with her dad and Chacey for 6 months and never saw him become violent.
So it was useless to try to come to me and act like Dad was some kind of beast.
Did you ever see him slam Chacey against a wall?
Absolutely not.
Natalie and Nicole have told us that it never happened. Are they telling the truth?
No, sir. They've never really cared for me from the beginning. I was the younger girl that came in and took their father.
Chacey believes she had a good reason for not reporting the alleged abuse to authorities.
You know, I don't walk out and announce he's beating on me. I'm not going to do that because it would jeopardize his job.
Despite their problems, Chacey says she tried to keep the spark alive in the marriage.
I don't mean to embarrass you with this, but what is this from?
This was done for Robert. I had a friend of mine who was a photographer, and she did a boudoir shoot for me. He wasn't attracted to me after I lost all the weight. He liked me when I was heavier.
Over a 2-year span, Chacey transformed her body.
The first picture is December, probably about 2013. The second picture was December 2015. I lost a total of 104 pounds. I got up every morning, ran, strict diet, worked out. I pushed myself pretty hard.
Chacey admits she began seeing other men, a lot of men.
When I dropped the weight, I didn't hide in his shadow anymore.
You had confidence.
Correct. I started meeting people. You know, I was going out more. I was doing things for myself.
Natalie accidentally found evidence on Chacey's computer that her stepmother was cheating.
She had left it open on our Facebook, and she was talking to men on there that weren't Dad.
What kind of conversations?
Very sexual and gross.
Natalie says while her father pulled overnight shifts at the firehouse, Chacey often snuck out for hours at a time, leaving Natalie and her then 4-year-old sister alone.
She was never wearing gym clothes, but she always said she was going to the gym. And often my little sister would wake up and she would cry and cry because she couldn't find her mom.
Natalie eventually found the courage to tell her dad about Chacey's cheating ways.
I will stand up for what I know and what I believe in, and that to me wasn't right.
You said what?
I said, I think Chacey's cheating on you.
Deeply troubled, Robert filed paperwork for divorce, but ended up not following through.
He was trying to save the marriage. He had already been divorced once. He didn't want to lose his third daughter and not be able to be with her all the time.
Robert installed a security camera next to the front door to try and catch Chacey cheating with one of her lovers. Then, just 12 days before Robert's murder, the doorbell rang.
As soon as that doorbell rang, I was out that door telling him he had to go.
And off he runs. And Robert knew.
Correct.
I love him. He's a pain in the ass, but I love him.
On the night of Robert's murder, Sergeant Meek had a hunch that Chacey Poynter knew more than she was saying.
Something just didn't sit right. Chacey, do you mind if I take some pictures of you real quick?
Although she wasn't under arrest, she was read her rights.
All right, look up at me. All right, listen to me. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Out to friend's house.
But Chacey kept on talking.
Met friends?
Yeah.
Revealing what she was up to before that fateful rendezvous with her husband.
Whose house was that?
Michael Garza.
Hanging out with someone named Michael Garza.
Are you and Michael Garza dating or anything like that? Do y'all have a relationship?
Yes.
Well, then that red flag goes off. Did y'all have a date? Was it date night?
No, we just hung out. We had sex, obviously.
Okay, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
He's contacted an attorney to get a divorce, and I was okay with that. We've been married 6 years, almost 7 years.
Investigators say the more Chacey Poynter talked, The more she seemed like a suspect than a grieving wife.
We don't meet up.
The hyperventilating's now stopped, and she's gone into this stutter talking,
I don't know.
which leads me to believe that she does these pauses
And so I told him.
to gather additional thoughts.
So are you thinking, is this a performance?
Yes, sir. It started seeming more and more that way.
And a performance with a recurring character, Michael Garza.
I was at Michael's house. At Michael's house.
And tell me his name again, I'm sorry.
Michael Garza.
Michael Garza.
Yes.
Y'all have a relationship?
Yes.
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 Michael Garza, who is he?
He was a place that I would go to vent, and I loved him for that.
Chacey began having an affair with Michael Garza after meeting him on Facebook in the summer of 2016. This selfie captured one intimate moment.
It was something I felt guilty about.
Robert shared his frustrations about Chacey with his buddies at the firehouse.
And I told him, man, you just got to cut your losses. Divorce sucks, but you're miserable. And he said, yeah, you're right. You're right, but I'm invested. Those were his exact words, I'm invested in this.
Robert was hopeful the marriage could be saved. He took Chacey and their daughter to Mexico on vacation. But it backfired.
We fought. He thought I was on the phone with somebody else. It upset him.
It was the Wednesday that Bob had come home from Mexico. He said the trip wasn't good. He said, I just can't do this anymore.
And when did he die?
Friday.
Not long after Chacey told Sergeant Meek about the affair with Michael Garza,
I'll be transporting the female to Roy City Police Department.
she was driven downtown to be questioned by Detective Michael Burke.
Let me get this door.
68, white car.
Just have you sit right there.
The interrogation started at 2:20 in the morning.
Did I love Robert? Yes. He was an ass to me. I loved him.
And lasted 8 hours.
I loved him. I really did love him. We've had a lot of issues in our marriage.
Among those issues, her affair with Garza.
Michael and I ended up having sex while I was there.
And she gave more detail about Robert's murder.
Right to the front of my Jeep, there was someone standing there. Probably 6 foot, maybe. I could see dark clothes. That's it. I don't know if they were white, black. I don't know anything.
Somebody, from what you're saying, shoot your husband, cold-blooded murder, and just lets you run away.
There was someone standing there.
When somebody comes out to murder a random stranger, a big red flag is that they don't let a witness go.
And that suggested what to you?
Suggested she might have known the killer.
Look, the way your husband was killed, somebody was right next to him.
Detective Burke pressed her.
I think you're full of crap. I want her to pull the trigger.
I don't know who pulled the trigger.
See, I think you do, and that's the problem.
No, I don't.
2 hours into the interrogation, Detective Burke broke through.
Who killed your husband? Who shot Robert? Can you say that louder for me, please?
Mikey, as in Michael Garza.
Where was Mikey?
To the passenger side.
Now cornered, Chacey changed her entire story. She says she told Garza about Robert's alleged anger issues.
I just don't want to. I want him to know what it's like to be bullied all the time.
Chacey told 48 Hours Garza rode with her that night. The plan was to confront Robert outside the Jack in the Box and demand he leave Chacey alone.
Did you see him put a shotgun in your vehicle?
No, sir.
You never saw a shotgun?
No, sir.
How can that be true?
I was on my phone. Garza tells me, make a right onto County Road 2595. When I asked him what was going on, he said, he's gonna meet us here.
Chacey now claims it was Garza setting a trap.
He told me to take my Jeep back up around the first corner and let Robert know that my Jeep was stuck and I needed him to come help me.
You had to tell Robert something to get him to come to the location, right?
Yes, sir.
But
my Jeep wasn't stuck.
When Robert arrived, she noticed something kind of touching.
He wore the cologne that he wore on our wedding day, and he hadn't worn it since. And I had made a joke about it, and he laughed.
Robert could never have imagined that he was just moments away from death.
As I was walking to the Jeep, I said, "Stop!"
Who are you yelling stop to?
To Garza.
But why would you have shouted that way if this was just going to be a conversation between two men? Isn't that indicative that you shouted stop because that meant don't shoot him?
No. I didn't, at that point, I didn't want him to even talk to Robert. At that moment, sorry. At that time, there was a gunshot.
Did Garza say anything to you?
Nothing.
County 911.
Not until after I called 911 did he run up to me, and he took my phone from me when he threw it down on the ground.
Prosecutor Jeff Kovach doesn't buy any of it.
The question is, which one of those stories does she want us to believe? Hurt him, scare him, or just have a talking to? None of them are credible.
Investigators believed that you were luring your husband to this remote area so he could be murdered.
There was no plan to bring him out and murder him. There was no talk of that.
On September 10th, the morning after her husband's murder, Chacey Poynter was arrested for conspiracy to commit murder. The couple's daughter would stay with Chacey's mother.
Did you conspire to have your husband murdered?
No, sir.
You're telling me that you are speaking the truth?
Yes, sir.
Investigators then set out to find the man who allegedly shot Robert Poynter. But Michael Garza, the truck driver, had hit the road.
The funeral was absolutely beautiful. It was very ceremonial.
On September 15th, 2016, just 5 days after his wife was charged in his death, Captain Robert Poynter was laid to rest.
We had guards guarding his urn, his ashes the entire time.
Firefighters from all over Texas honored him.
Did the fireman's prayer.
When duty calls me, O Lord, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save some life, whatever be its age.
I remember trying to hold it all together, and then when I lost it is when we walked out.
Other fire stations and police came in, and they lined from the church all the way to the fire station.
I remember the bagpipes. Painful.
One of the hardest things is they give the last call for Robert Poynter. You still think that person's still there somewhere, that this couldn't have happened. That's the thing with Bob. You always had this underlying feeling that even if he had to walk through fire, somehow that man would make it through.
Amy says in the last days of his life, Robert was finally ready to walk away from Chacey.
He was kind of beaten down. He was tired, where he was just ready, to get a divorce. I think she knew he was ready to move on.
Investigators say just the day before he was gunned down, Robert had reached out to a divorce attorney on Facebook, sending this provocative message: "I'm thinking of a surprise attack."
And he said something to her about a surprise attack on me. He had contacted a realtor, said he was going to put the house up for sale. He was going to have custody of our daughter.
The next day, he is killed. Do you think that's just a coincidence?
That's not a coincidence. That's why the murder happened when the murder happened.
What was the attraction for Chacey with your dad? Was it love or money?
Money.
Natalie says Chacey had convinced her father to change his almost $685,000 life insurance policy. Instead of the girls getting the money, Chacey was made the primary beneficiary.
We believe that was the motive. She saw him as an ATM machine, and she was going to milk the last little bit of money she could get out of him.
Prosecutor Calvin Grogan says investigators discovered a mountain of digital evidence.
There were plenty of text messages after the life insurance beneficiary designation change occurred in April, indicating that Chacey Poynter was looking for somebody that would take care of Robert.
And many of those texts, more than 10,000, were between Chacey and her lovers.
She's having affairs with multiple men: Danny Mims, Brad Golden, Sean Butcher, and Michael Garza.
Prosecutors believe Chacey began grooming Garza for murder, convincing him that Robert was an imminent threat.
She used sex to manipulate men. She's not going to come right out and ask them, hey, will you kill my husband for me? Chacey Poynter plays the victim, and then she uses that to manipulate people. And so she told all of these men that she's this abused, battered woman.
She texted Garza from that Mexican vacation where the couple was to reconcile. Quote, "He's coming after me sooner or later."
Garza answers, F him. No, I will shot that dude. Is Michael Garza talking about murdering your husband?
I didn't think he was serious. I didn't want him involved. I told him that.
I'm telling you, man, this girl is good at what she did.
This is Brad Golden.
She would be at my house every day, around 4 to 5 o'clock.
He's the lover caught on the security camera video. He says Chacey manipulated him.
I never even suspected, boy. Never that she had been married. She had told me she'd been divorced since 2014.
Brad says Chacey told him horror stories about Robert.
She always told me that Robert was abusive to her. I don't know if she was trying to get me to feel sorry for her, and I just wasn't falling for it or whatever, because I kept trying to get her to me to the police station, you know.
Were you ever able to corroborate any of her story of abuse?
We spoke to neighbors, we spoke to friends. I mean, there was no evidence to support it at all.
Chacey had made allegations about Robert's anger issues to ex-lovers, Sean Butcher and Danny Mims, who she often texted.
8 days prior to the murder, I wish she'd run out of air in a fire. Moving back to July 11th, I need him gone. Gone, G-O-N-E, all capitalized.
Danny Mims replies, I'm not a magician. Chacey answers, well, I need one.
Did you want him dead?
No. I was upset.
Sean Butcher says to Chacey, what do you need to leave? Chacey Poynter says, I would be better off with him gone. Benefits and can't lose custody.
Investigators have said you were going from person to person to try to find someone who would kill your husband.
I wasn't.
The day before the murder, it's from Chacey to Garza. I've made up my mind.
What do you think she's made up her mind about?
I think it's pretty clear it's about killing Robert Poynter.
With Michael Garza on the run, a SWAT team raided his house. Coming up empty. But the next day, Garza turned himself in, and he was charged with Robert Poynter's murder.
He did not want to speak to us, only wanted to speak to his attorney, and that's as far as we got.
With their two suspects now behind bars, investigators hope to find direct evidence linking Garza to the murder. 5 weeks later, that evidence would come from a farmer.
What's your emergency? I believe I found the shotgun.
Who unearthed the murder weapon while plowing this field. Less than a quarter mile from where Robert was shot.
That shotgun was still loaded. The shell hadn't been ejected. Okay, and there's 2 more in the magazine. And they're all man-killing slugs, consistent with what the medical examiner said was used to kill Robert Poynter.
We did a search on the firearm.
Mossberg 835 Ultimag.
It came back to Matthew Garza, Michael Garza's brother.
Police now had what they needed. Michael Garza would be the first to face trial.
Michael Garza just happened to be the person that was in Chacey's life at the right time. And all it really took for Chacey is to basically just dangle the bait.
And then when I looked up, there was nobody there.
Okay.
You probably think I'm crazy.
From her bizarre performance the night her husband was murdered to her confession about her lover, Michael Garza,
Michael was going to shoot Robert?
He was going to do it.
investigators were convinced Chacey Poynter was determined to have her husband killed that night.
He's around the corner.
Come here. Investigators believe you knew about the mission, planned the mission to murder your husband for money.
That's what they say.
And look at me. They're right, aren't they?
No, sir.
On July 10th, 2018, the prosecution put the alleged triggerman Michael Garza on trial. He had pleaded not guilty. When Garza took the stand, he made a shattering announcement, implicating Chacey.
He says that he gave her his brother's shotgun because he thought that she was abused. He implied that she did it.
Garza told the court he couldn't have murdered Robert Poynter because he was tending to a sick animal on the family farm.
His alibi is that he was tending to Oreo the cow while this whole murder was going on.
The jury didn't find Garza's alibi credible.
I actually do believe that his testimony helped us.
On July 20th, Michael Garza was found guilty and sentenced to 99 years in prison.
It was a huge step forward, but it also felt like the real battle had just begun.
The Poynter family now focused on Chacey.
In my mind, she's always pulled the trigger because she was the instigator of all of it.
What were you thinking going into trial?
I was very hopeful.
Prosecutors were hopeful too that they would prove Chacey wanted Robert's money and that she was the mastermind.
There's no way Michael Garza was ever going to get Robert Poynter out on that road alone. Only Chacey could do that, and she played her part well.
Using Chacey's texts, prosecutors demonstrated that her alleged love for Michael Garza was really a sinister ploy.
He is a pawn. He's the dumb idiot she got to do this.
In fact, Garza didn't know that after he shot Robert, Chacey planned on spending the night with another lover.
She was texting Brad Golden while she's out there committing this murder. She had sex with Brad Golden that morning. They still planned to meet up that night.
What the heck is going on?
I don't know. My life was out of control.
Chacey's defense attorneys, Scott Cornaud and Frank Hughes, say the state's obsession with Chacey's affairs tainted the jury.
Chacey having affairs has nothing to do with murder. It just demonizes her. Chacey Poynter is not guilty of murder. She's guilty of being negligent because she should have anticipated that this thug, Garza, would commit a murder to get to her.
Calling 911 is probably the strongest point that we have in her defense. No one who planned to kill someone would shoot him and call 911.
He went to go help me. My Jeep is stuck in the back.
But the prosecutors argued at the sight of her dead husband, Chacey had a moment of sheer
He's
panic.
around the corner.
Come here. It's one thing to talk about killing somebody. It's another thing to go through with it.
While Chacey chose not to take the stand, jurors did hear her speak
He knew that I was seeing someone.
through those recorded police videos.
I didn't want to be married anymore.
One that captured this revealing moment. At the end of her 2-week trial, the jury began its deliberations.
We waited for a while. Hour, 2 hour, 3 hours went by.
After the 4th hour,
hey, okay, they have a verdict, okay.
Chacey Poynter was found guilty of murder.
I cried. And
relieved.
They got it. That they saw who she really was.
She met him, and she walked him to his death.
Smiling and giggling, talking about tacos and cologne. She's evil.
Chacey told me that you always had Robert's heart.
I think that's true. She took away all choice of anybody of having any relationship or any, future with him.
This is his bunker gear. Having it is almost like having part of his presence, which is comforting in a way and painful in another.
How do you want your father to be remembered?
As he was, as he really was. He was gentle, and he was smart, and he was kind. He was rare, and we were lucky to have him.
This is injustice.
True redemption and remorse comes from telling the truth. Isn't it time you did that?
He wasn't supposed to die.
Jurors sentenced Chacey Poynter to life in prison, with the possibility of parole in 30 years.
Are your tears now tears of what you did to your own life, or tears of what you did to him?
It's both.